The popularity of YouTube was still in its infancy stage in the mid-2000s, which gave us reality TV shows like Scarred. This was mainly because the monetization of viral videos had not been the focal point of relevancy. If you don't know what Scarred was and what it meant to us angsty teens in the 2000s, this show was gruesome in nature and was showcased on MTV, which had taken homegrown recorded clips from the internet, either from skateboarding forum pages, skateboarding websites, YouTube, or YouTube's equivalent, Break.com. It would give us 30 minutes of non-stop gore, showing us viewers a pretty in-depth breakdown of injuries or scars, hence the name. From broken bones to busted male reproductive parts. Oof. MTV gave us a bloodfest hosted by one of the biggest rock stars of the time, Jacoby of Papa Roach, who had made hit tracks such as Last Resort. Each episode gave us a countdown of the 5 most brutal videos, usually of skateboarding or sporting related accidents found on the web, that with heavy editing and interviews about the related incident would be aired on TV, usually aimed at younger audiences because they would bypass parental controls under the channel MTV. If you were a parent at the time walking in on your kid watching this, you were probably finding ways to block MTV on the channel list. Did this gruesome reality show cause parental outrage, and was that the reason why it only had 2 seasons? If you came from the 2000s era watching reality TV or the more male-based TV channel Spike like I did, then the hit MTV show Scarred was also on your TiVo. This show had a fan base centered around skateboarding culture, but was definitely not made for the people who had a distaste for gore or broken body parts. Scarred would air on MTV around the mid-2000s, I would have to say at the end of 2006 and early 2007, and would go on to have 2 seasons or 20 episodes. I have to note that it did feel like Scarred ran longer than that, but reruns would show on MTV2 after the 2010s, making it appear like it had way more seasons. The concept around this show had been centered on amateur recorded videos that would hit the internet either from the early stages of YouTube, skateboarding forums, or what about that really gruesome webpage, Tosh.O.com. That page was definitely something that my kid mind should have not come across. Top executives at MTV like Tony DeSanto and Liz Gately, who were responsible for giving us reality-based content like Wild 'N Out or Teen Mom at the time, would be presented the idea of Scar Stories, which took these gruesome stunt videos that were found on the internet and turned them into a top 5 countdown, usually with some banter behind the host of the show, Jacoby, who was the singer for Papa Roach. As each episode unfolded, painful interviews and gory imagery, usually with young adults, would be showcased on MTV under this reality show, which would lead to some upset parents. At the end of the 2000s, an outpour of controversy around shows like Teen Mom, 16 and Pregnant, and Scarred started to be the focal point with upset parents. This was due to how MTV would bypass parental controls that the parents had set. Definitely didn't intend to bring up the other MTV reality show Parental Control when writing this. However, Scarred would be on that list with upset parents due to its graphic showcase of sporting accidents. Even though the show had a disclaimer in the beginning for younger audiences, the viral videos that were showcased had been put on the internet before its conception due to other TV hits like Wild Boys or Viva La Bam, which took concepts of more pain is more fame. Scarred was no different in incentivizing young adults to go out and do dumb stunts that would bring them fame but also scars. While Scarred did have celebrity guests on like Steve-O sharing his gruesome stories, it still left a scar on young audiences. This controversy would lead the show to be scrubbed or forgotten about for the most part, but it wasn't just the gore that gave to its downfall. The host, Jacoby, could not maintain the show due to his focus with music or his band, and in return we got a few episodes with different hosts but not the same flavor as what Jacoby had given the audience. These differences would deter people away from its ratings, and around
2008
the show would end with no announcement. Scarred had not been the first to showcase homegrown content, as it could be found within shows like America's Funniest Home Videos, which predated that about 17 years. It was, however, one of the pioneers to give us more stomach-turning reality content that would air on TV, which influenced shows like Tosh.O and Ridiculousness. Tosh.O would release at the end of Scarred under Comedy Central, and Ridiculousness would release around 2011 under MTV. Both shows offered the same amount of content that you could find under Scarred, but with more horizons of comedy and less focused on just skateboarding accidents, taking amateur videos that could be found posted on forum pages or YouTube and showcasing them to an audience. These shows would also have funny skits within interviews that were very similar to what was found in Scarred, just without the comedic value. Scarred also gave way to the next wave of consumable content on the internet, otherwise known as podcasts. Take Joe Rogan and his interviews with each guest. Each guest tells their side of events, they showcase videos, and you get to know the person behind that podcast episode. Scarred had laid the foundation for the future, but could have been less gruesome for the past. Scarred was everything in the mid-2000s, especially if you were into the skateboarding atmosphere like I was. It gave the audience a way to understand how certain injuries happened, and was visual with the x-rays and so many replays. I'm pretty positive just about anybody who was invested into this show will recall an episode that scarred them for life, which is the title of the MTV hit. The show also left a fan base within Reddit, and even though it does seem like it is lost to time and scrubbed from all forms of media, Redditors that go by Titan is Back and YouTube channels like Sean S still give us a glimpse of what was the 2000s. Scarred may have been gruesome, but its detail and stories behind each broken bone left a scar in our memories for years to come.